In the winter of 1973, the town of West Pittston, Pennsylvania, was quiet in the way small towns usually are. Nothing ever really happened there, and people liked it that way. So when Jack and Janet Smurl moved into a modest duplex on Chase Street, no one paid much attention. It was a simple home. Narrow hallways, thin walls, a shared structure split between neighbors. The kind of place where you raised kids, paid bills, and lived an unremarkable life. At first, that's exactly what it was. The Smurls noticed the first thing within weeks: a smell. It wasn't constant. It didn't have a source. Sometimes it was rotting garbage, sometimes sulfur, sometimes something sweet, like decay trying to hide itself. They cleaned, they checked pipes, they blamed old walls. Then came the sounds. Footsteps above them, slow, deliberate, when no one was upstairs. Soft knocking inside the walls, a dragging noise like furniture being moved late at night. Jack assumed it was the neighbors. The neighbors assumed it was the Smurls. No one was worried yet. That's the thing about real horror. It doesn't announce itself. It waits until you've explained it away. Months passed. The smells grew worse, the sounds louder. Then, one night, Jack woke up because the mattress shook beneath him. Not violently, not suddenly, rhythmically, as if something underneath the bed was pushing upward, testing it. When he sat up, it stopped. The room was silent, except for the dog. Their German shepherd was standing rigid in the doorway, teeth bared, growling, not at Jack, not at Janet, but at empty air. From that night on, the dog refused to enter certain rooms. Animals know things before we do. By 1974, the house had changed. Objects fell without explanation. Cabinet doors opened on their own. Lights flicked off even after being replaced. Then it crossed a line it never uncrosses by accident. One afternoon, Janet was thrown. Not pushed, not startled, thrown across the room as if grabbed by something she couldn't see. She hit the wall hard enough to leave bruises. Jack didn't believe her at first, until it happened to him. A sharp blow to the chest, a shove down the stairs, a handprint, dark and swollen, forming on his arm where no human hand had been. They stopped inviting people over. They stopped sleeping through the night, and the house seemed pleased. The Smurls began to feel watched, not the vague kind of watched, but focused, intentional. Cold spots appeared in specific areas, always the same places: bedrooms, corners, closets. One night, Jack heard breathing next to his ear, slow, wet, not human. When he turned on the light, the room was empty, but the air felt thick, heavy, like it had just been disturbed. Janet reported something worse. She said she was assaulted in her sleep, held down, touched, violated. She screamed for Jack, and whatever it was released her instantly, as if it knew it had been noticed. That's when they stopped calling it a haunting. They started calling it evil. Their children weren't spared. One of the girls was pushed down the stairs. Another woke with scratches along her back, thin, red, three-lined marks that appeared overnight. The dog, the same dog that once guarded the doorway, was lifted and thrown against the wall, whimpering and bleeding. Jack tried to fight it. He shouted at empty rooms, demanded it leave, cursed it. The response was immediate. A heavy presence pressed him into his chair, crushing his chest until he couldn't breathe, until he genuinely believed he was dying. Then it released him, not because it had to, but because it wanted him alive. Desperate, the Smurls contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, already known for investigating extreme paranormal cases. When the Warrens entered the house, Lorraine reportedly froze. She later claimed she sensed 4 distinct entities: one human spirit, one violent, non-human presence, and one powerful demonic force dominating the home. The demon, she said, fed on fear, exhaustion, and despair, which explained why it had waited, why it had escalated slowly, why it attacked the weakest first. During investigations, witnesses reported hearing growls, seeing shadowy forms, and experiencing sudden nausea and panic. The Warrens declared the case one of the most dangerous they had ever encountered. An exorcism was attempted. It did nothing. Here's the part most people miss. The Smurls didn't flee. They couldn't afford to. So they lived there for years, knowing something hated them, watched them, touched them, and could hurt them at any moment. The attacks continued, sometimes weeks apart, sometimes daily. They learned patterns, avoided rooms, slept with lights on, and the entity adapted. It learned their routines. That's what makes this case so disturbing. Not the violence, but the patience. This wasn't chaos. It was control. The Smurl haunting became public in the 1980s, bringing ridicule, skepticism, and media attention. Some dismissed it as delusion, others as exaggeration. But the family never recanted. They never changed their story. Even decades later, Jack Smurl maintained one thing until his death. Whatever lived in that house was real, and it enjoyed what it did to us. The house still stands, occupied, quiet, and according to some neighbors, still not entirely empty.